Hello, here we are again, and we're going to be working on the side body today, and specifically working with the extended triangle and the extended side angle. Now, with these two postures, which you'll be seeing right now, very different leg positions, and I would say probably one of the main places that you are working here is your side body, but it takes a lot of different things. Like a lot of these yogic postures, it isn't what it seems. We've got lots going on through the legs, we've got lots going on through the side body and even through the shoulders, and you need flexibility and strength to be able to pull these postures off correctly. I will show you some aggressions and I will show you them in the purest form. Let's get on the mat and start right now. Oh yeah, you may need a block. Now get to the mat. So we're going to go through our extended triangle first. So this is really prominent in terms of what it looks like. It looks like a triangle. So we're going to work from the ground up and build up this posture. I'll show you it first of all. Okay, so you see it in its purest form there. We've got this, first of all, we've got this triangle shaped position with our legs. As you'll see here, all the way from that heel up towards the groin and back towards the rear heel. So let's first of all set this position up, and the leg position more specifically. What you can do to help that and make sure that you get your legs in the right position and your heels in line is actually bring yourself all the way to the outside of the mat. So making sure that front heel, and that goes for any of the other ones like your Warrior 2, Warrior 1, extended side angle, etc. It really helps just by having that line on the outside of the mat to line up those heels, because it's super important. Now let's set these legs up. And this is where we start coming into the same place as we were with the Warrior 1 and 2, is that back foot. We want that back foot at that 45-degree angle. Okay, and that makes us, especially when we're going into this extended side angle, and we, or more specifically, we go onto the revolved triangle, we can't get round, okay? So it sets us up nicely and sets the right tone for maybe some future postures that we're going to be working into. So let's set up this position. And there's a couple of common mistakes here, so have a look at your legs. One of the first common mistakes is this thigh rolling inwards. What we need to do is we need to try and roll that thigh outward, okay, and see if you can actually do that without turning the foot out, okay, without actually rolling onto the outside of your foot. You want to keep that front foot flat and rotate that front thigh out. You've got a straight leg here at the front, as straight as you possibly can, obviously not locking it out if you're hypermobile, not hyperextended, a little bit like that. Still want to have that using our strength rather than using the joint. Back foot, leg nice and straight, and the first thing we do, like our Warrior 2, is we open out with the arms. Okay, so if you're doing it on the edge of the mat, I'm just going to move it here so I don't start whacking my plants. So we're like this, arms are up, okay, and we're trying to open out fully towards that left hand side. Hands in line with each other, okay, and looking over that front hand, spreading the fingers apart, and we look over the middle finger, and all we do here is we reach out to the front. As soon as you start to do that, still keeping that front foot or the front leg rotated outwards, that external rotation, you'll start to feel it down the inside of your groin. This is where we're going to feel it. Main places that you feel this posture, through here and also through the side body as well, if you're doing it correctly. So we're coming forwards and then we're going down. Now, as you saw me do before, I was grabbing onto my big toe. Now, I don't want you to do that. I want you to make sure, first of all, that you go down to the right depth for you. And I'm going to explain to you now one of the common things to happen when people just go straight down for the foot, or, you know, sometimes we have it where we have our hand down onto the ground, depending on what class you're doing and maybe the teacher's preference. Now, this is what happens when we try to go down a little bit too far. I'm showing you from this angle because what we're trying to do, you see how I've got like the straight line. Imagine I've got like a pane of glass to my front and a pane of glass to my rear. I'm reaching out. So you see there's no deviation here. I'm not pushing my bum out to the rear. I'm not pressing my hips forwards. I'm trying to keep everything in line. I'm going to show you what happens. Let's just say you go down towards the floor. And if you haven't got the flexibility, this happens. See how you can start to see my front arm, and you can also see my bum pushing out towards the side. Now, what I would do there is it's usually a lack of flexibility through your hamstrings on the front leg, is that I would just shift up, okay, until I can actually keep everything in line. And that's your gauger, is as soon as you start to feel that bum deviate to the rear, you know you've gone too far. So that's for you to find out. So maybe looking in the mirror, that's a really good way of doing it. And we're trying to make sure that we go down to our own depth. So let me show you a couple of different ways that you can find different depths. And I'm going to start at that big toe. Okay, so hooking through. It's like a pistol grip, placing it in between the big toe and the next toe along, and then I'm hooking right underneath. Okay, so that's the first one. I'm going to go into the more finer details in a second with this posture. See, there's so much in each of these postures that you can learn, and to make sure that you're doing them properly. Now, the next place I would go to is perhaps using the block down to the inside. So grab your block, try and take the heel of the hand in line with the heel of the foot. Now, if I'm still pushing my bum out towards the side like this, come onto your medium height. Good. And then if you're still pushing out, because a lot of people can be there as well, is we're coming up onto that highest height here. If you're even still there, is just come just below the knee, never on top of the knee. So just below the knee, still in this position. So I'm going to go just in between, just as a, for most people, they can't really get down to the big toe, so I'm just going to go on average here, is that we can get down onto this block. And what we're trying to do from this point is, we're trying to open out the whole of the body. And you can see here, I've got that top hand directly over the bottom hand. Now, if you feel like, this is one which I see all the time, is the shoulder shunting up towards the earlobe. We're trying to open out the arms. Imagine trying to press both hands as far away from each other as possible. So if you feel like you're out here towards the front, a good way of actually trying to create that strength in that rotated position, because that can sometimes be a limit, is putting your hand on your back or placing the hand right behind the back and twisting that shoulder away. Once you find that strength by twisting away here for a period of time, then you can start to raise that arm up. So there could be a couple of restrictions there through maybe mid-back and other places within the body. So come back up towards the top from there. And I'm going to show you one more thing, is another active part that we want to be thinking about when we're in this posture without losing this position, because as soon as we start to rotate the hip away, that I'm going to show you in a second, this leg wants to drop in. So we don't want to let everything else fall apart when we get into this posture. So let's set it up again once more. We're going to go on to the other side in a second. Okay, twisting that front leg away, reaching out towards the front, create that activation, come down to the block or the foot, wherever's good for you. And then we need to think about, once we find this position, is driving that hip over this way. So we're trying to rotate it out without this front leg dropping in or bending. Okay, so we're rotating the front leg that way and the back hip that way. So it's like opening the thighs out. Okay, and then if you feel stable, you can start to look up towards that top hand. Okay, so back up towards the top. Let's just flip it round the other way. Rather than me facing away from you, this is the best view for your triangle. We're in that for a fair bit of time. Pretty good stretch there. And feel free to even it up. If this feels like we were in that for like 5-6 minutes, if you want to go into this for 5 or 6 minutes on the other side, then go for it. But also making sure that you're nice and warm before any of these sessions. So reaching out towards the front, make sure that front thighs pushed away, both heels in line in that 45-degree angle with that back foot. Yeah, so 45 degrees. Okay, reaching out towards the front, come down, hand hits the floor, right hand comes up and over. Yeah, so have a little look. See if you need to place your hand behind your back and create more of this rotation. Make sure this front leg's turned away, that back leg's turned away, and then when you feel happy, start to open this hip out, okay? And this is where you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it right down the side of the body, on the top side of the body, and then through the inside of the front leg. I would say they're the two areas that you're targeting with this posture. And we're just going to stay here let's just stay for another 3 breaths, just to even it out a little bit and to get used to it. And think about, I'm just going to name these different parts for you to keep an eye on. So rotating the front leg outward, rotating the back hip outward, making sure that front knee is nice and straight, looking up towards the top hand if you feel like it, and trying to keep both of those hands stacked over the top of each other. Just do one more breath there. Every time you breathe out, you're moving into the stretch a little bit more. It's a general rule of thumb with most postures. Come back up towards the top. Happy days. Quite tiring after a while, isn't it? Okay, now let's go into our extended side angle. There's a little difference here. I'm going to pop that block off to the side. I'm going to show you the posture first of all. I'm not going to talk. Here we go. Okay, so our extended side angle, as you can see there, it's a really nice straight line from that back foot extending up towards my fingers. So it's like one straight line, and that's one of the main areas that we want to be looking at in terms of the shape of this posture. One of the main things that I see being done wrong is actually this sort of, when we're down here in this position, it's trying to get your hand down against the floor and just be like this. Can't get your arm up for a few reasons which I'm going to go through in a second. Let's start from the ground up. Leg position. Very, very familiar, right? We are in that warrior, the classic warrior position for our legs. We're pushing our front knee towards the outside and we're twisting away with that back leg. Exactly the same thing if we're in that triangle, right? It's still that rotated position, and that creates that strength through the outer hip. So we're bending through that front knee. As you'll see here, my knee's not over my toes. I need to have the right stride length, both heels in line, to be able to come forward and keep my knee over the ankle. Come into warrior 2, and a little bit like that extended triangle as I'm reaching out to the front. See that shape here again? So I'm creating that shape first of all, then the hand pendulum's down. Okay, and I bend through the knee a little bit more. I'm taking the heel of my hand down towards the outside of my right foot, and I'm reaching up and over the top. Turning, looking underneath the armpit, and looking up towards the thumb on the top hand. So it's all about rotation here. Nice strong pillar of support. I'm going to just turn back towards you here for a second, because what I want you to do is show you this position of the hand from a different angle. Let's shift back a little bit further again. Okay, so heel of hand in line with heel of foot. And this is like one pillar of strength. So I'm pushing my knee into my arm, and I'm pushing my arm into my knee. Okay, so that's creating, and again, this pane of glass from to the right hand side of me and the left hand side of me, I'm in between. So I'm not pushed out like this, which you see a lot of the time. Everything should be aligned up and over the top. So that's what it looks like from the front. Maybe you want to do that in the mirror for that one. But really remembering this front pillar of stability. Let's make it a little easier. Again, it's about depth with this one. So the block goes down to the outside of the foot. If you feel like when you're down here, you sort of can't get that arm out and you can't rotate outwards, you're probably too far down, so you need to bring the block into play. Again, use either smallest height, medium, highest height if you want to. Okay? And it's exactly the same process actually as that extended triangle. I'm going to go for the middle height. So I'm still going to place that block, hand or heel of hand in line with the heel of foot. Okay, I'm still going to bend through that front knee. I'm going to push my knee into my arm. And then what I do from here, I like to zip up the side of my body. So I'm zipping up with this full rotation outward. Okay, so find that full rotation out. I'm zipping up and then I'm extending my arm up and over the top and creating that nice angle there, that side angle. Okay, so if you feel like you're here, what we're trying to do is look underneath our armpit and looking up towards the sky. Okay, so rotating out, we need to rotate out. We're not just trying to get down and be over here with our arm or trying to use our shoulder. It's all about this rotation going on. Okay, and you're looking all the way up, nice straight arm, looking up to the thumb on that top hand. Okay, so there's your extended side angle. Another regression for that is, if you feel like that's too much, is just taking your elbow down onto your knee and coming over like this. You get the same shape. It's a little bit more controlled. So I'd say this one's a great one for the beginner. If you want to go a bit further, come down into the block and then start working yourself down towards the floor. Let's do it on the other side, as we did with our extended triangle. We'll place that block down. Okay, set up the leg position again. Both heels in line with each other, 45-degree angle, pushing that knee out towards the side, coming into your warrior two. Told you would see some warriors in this session. You're reaching out, lock in through this front hip. We're not just reaching out and letting our body go flat. We're lifting with the chest, so we engage through the front of the hip. Okay, bring left heel down, heel of hand in line with heel of foot, and then we're going to create this zipping action. So zip up, whilst turning all the way out, reaching up and over and extending the arm over the top of the head. Okay, look up into the sky, follow your arm up towards your thumb. And another way that we did with the triangle is, if that feels like your arm's just the main restriction here, is take your arm behind your back and go for that twist. What you're doing there in both of those postures that we're working through on this session is you're working strength, okay? You're working that rotational strength. If your arm's out here, you're never going to be able to get into it. We need to experience that range before we start building strength within it. Okay, so bring the arm behind the back if you need to. Push that front knee into the arm at the front to create that nice pillar of stability. Zip up the side of the body and reach up and over the top of the head. Squeezing through this back bum cheek as well. Okay, back leg's nice and straight. Bend through the front knee, create that angle. If you need to, come into that version with the elbow on the knee. But try and drop those hips. Still using the same fundamentals. Looking underneath the armpit, all the way up towards the thumb. And we've been in that one for a while now. So there we are. I'm actually pretty warm off that session already. So we've got our extended triangle and we've got our extended side angle. Two really good strengtheners for our side body. Also strengtheners for the lower limbs and upper limbs. Well done.